Okay, so let's get right into it. We're going to explore a crisis that's been building quietly, but believe me, it has the power to shake the entire global economy. It's this massive storm that's managed to stay just off the radar. Well, until now. While all of our attention has been on these major global conflicts, a completely different kind of threat has been gathering steam. And now, leaders are finally sounding the alarm about what they're calling an inflationary cliff. Yeah, a point where the whole world economy could just take a very, very steep fall. And the epicenter of this economic storm, the one single point of failure we're all looking at, it's a narrow little strait of water that holds an almost unbelievable amount of global power. Now, for most of us, when we hear Strait of Hormuz, our brains immediately go to one thing: oil. And look, it's rightly called the world's most important oil artery. A huge portion of the planet's petroleum passes right through it. So that's the natural assumption to make, right? This has got to be about oil. But is that what this is really about? Is the big threat we're facing just higher prices at the pump? If only. The reality is, the crisis brewing in this choke point goes so far beyond the fuel in your car. It actually threatens the supply of pretty much all of our basic necessities. Let's see how this thing builds, because the first major shockwave coming out of this strait is aimed directly at the world's food supply. You see, after the 2022 sanctions on Russia, the world became incredibly, and I mean incredibly, dependent on Gulf nations for the fertilizer we need to grow our food. And today, an astonishing 49%, that's nearly half, of the entire global supply passes through this one single route. So what do you think happens when that supply gets threatened? Bam! An overnight price increase of 35% for fertilizer. Now, a jump like that isn't just some inconvenience. It's a massive blow that could literally leave fields barren and push farmers towards bankruptcy. And folks, this is just the beginning. Because this crisis, it doesn't stop with our food. No, it's a chain reaction, and the very next link in that chain is the core of our modern industrial world. The second major shock here is aluminum. You've got these massive smelters in Bahrain, the UAE, and Qatar producing the aluminum that builds, well, everything. And all of it has to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. With that route threatened, prices have already shot up to a 4-year high. And that brings us to the third shock: plastics. A full 10% of the world's ethylene, that's the fundamental building block for pretty much all plastic, is also dependent on this route. So think about it. Now we have our food, our metals, and our plastics all caught in the exact same bottleneck. So, okay, let's connect these abstract things to your everyday life. What are we talking about here? We're talking about the cost of your next car, parts for airplane engines, your phone, your laptop, medical supply packaging, even your kids' toys. For a lot of people, the rising cost could put the dream of a new car completely out of reach. So, we've seen the threat to our food and the threat to our industries. Let's connect those dots. When the cost to grow food skyrockets, at the exact same time as the cost to build everything else, you get this massive overarching crisis. And that, right there, is why experts are warning this isn't just another bout of inflation. No, what the world is facing is something far more severe, far more systemic than a simple rise in prices. In fact, their assessment is chilling. It's being described as an economic suicide. The damage to the global supply chain is so fundamental because, well, it's self-inflicted. It's a systemic failure that cuts right to the very bone of how we make and move everything. And look, even if this route opened up completely tomorrow, the wounds are just too deep for a quick fix. You've got these long queues of ships, empty warehouses, costs that just keep soaring. These aren't temporary problems. They're deep structural wounds that could take months, maybe even years, to properly heal. So where does that leave us? Well, it means everything is now on the global chessboard. Your food, your ability to travel, the roof over your head, these aren't just parts of your life anymore. They are all now pieces in this incredibly high-stakes game. And if you've been wondering why your money just doesn't seem to go as far anymore, this is a huge part of the answer. Every single dollar or pound or rupee in your pocket is now directly impacted by what's happening in this one distant choke point. This isn't some temporary disruption. It's a fundamental shift. The old economic rules, the old assumptions, they just don't apply anymore. A new, much more volatile era of the global economy has officially begun. The sources are crystal clear on this. This new era is going to be difficult.